Going globally, our outbound strategy is to bring our Thai products, our Filipino products, Malaysian products to the global markets because they do have good product as well. So Convy's playbook is more of a matchmaking for good global brands and good global products to fill the gap where e-commerce now is filled of cheap products, low quality products. But Convy is focusing on quality products, brands that people are not sure about, that they never heard about, but they are good brands. It's difficult to do it, but it's in our gene to conquer the difficult things.
Hi folks, welcome back to On Call with Insignia, where you go on call with leaders innovating the future of Southeast Asia's internet and digital economy, or as we like to call it, Asia Innovation. I'm your host, Paolo Aquino, and we are back with a returning guest who incidentally has always come back to our show every 2 years, ever since we first partnered with their company and back in 2022. It's been a great partnership so far over the last 4 years, seeing this company that has really already established leadership from the point of market leadership from the point of our partnership, but has since even outgrown even that, expanding to new markets and expanding across multiple channels, bringing in new and exciting partners as well onto their cap table. So really excited to catch up with this returning guest and learn what they've been up to the last 2 years. I have with me none other than Konvy CEO and co-founder QingGui Huang, or as I call him, Kui. Kui, thank you for joining us 2 years 2 years later.
Thanks, Paulo, for inviting me. It's been an honor to talk to you, and you have been helping us to do a lot of PRs in online. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah, hopefully, I've always been doing these calls over Zoom. Hopefully, maybe the next time we can actually do it in a Convy office or maybe in a Convy store and then actually do it live as well. But in the meantime, this will suffice. When we last spoke in 2024, we had just also done a round as well back then. I think it was a Series A extension, and you just opened up your first physical stores in Bangkok. You had just also explored TikTok Shop as well. You were also exploring the Philippines. Maybe you can catch up our audience 2 years on, and you recently raised the Series B. Congratulations on that, by the way. What has changed for Convy in the last 2 years?
Before answering your questions, I would like to give the audience a little bit background of what we do. Convy is a leading beauty e-commerce focusing on mainly on the health and beauty categories. Our business has been operating for more than 13 years now. And as you mentioned, early 2024, we has launched our offline store. As a leading e-commerce beauty e-retailers, we don't see ourselves as gonna just end with online, right? So we're always thinking about how can we be more innovative, how can we adapt to the consumers' behaviors, and how can we serve the customers better. That's why we're keen to explore different kind of things. So 2 years ago, we were entering TikTok Shop and we were doing offline as well. And now we're stepping into the Philippines, right? Like you mentioned, there's a lot of new things going on. But yes, if this last 2 years has a lot of things has changed. I think 2026 is the whole economy and the whole global market has dramatically changed. I think a lot of business is forming. If you're asking me this question 10 years ago, it will be more of people just starting to know about e-commerce. Right? But now it's a messy market, I would say, right? With the wars going on and everything, people are very unsure about what's going to happen. And brands as well. So in the business side, brands are not sure what's going to happen. Where I've been talking to brands a lot on how can we prepare for the next few years. Should they invest more on online or should they invest more on offline? Should they invest more in TikTok? All these questions. TikTok just came in 2 years, but now they're already 30% of the market share. But over the last 2-3 years, they changed dramatically. Brands are not being able to kind of react fast enough. And a lot of brands kind of losing their competitiveness due to how the consumer behavior change. And Convy would be to be intermediate between consumers and brands to see how can we help consumers find the good products online.
Yeah, I think that the whole thesis of being a platform or a bridge between the brands and consumers has really, paid off for Convy over the last 13 years, as you've mentioned. It's just that the form has changed over the years, right? Initially online, but now really Omni-Channel as well. Initially Thailand, but now multiple markets across Southeast Asia. including the Philippines and even Malaysia as well. And so this whole evolution of Konvy from number one retailer in Thailand to really becoming a Southeast Asia gateway for a lot of beauty and healthcare brands. How do you see Konvy living up to this new kind of expectation or brand that you're trying to build for yourselves, right?
E-commerce has become quite challenged. It was very challenged before, and until today, it gets even more challenging to operate an e-commerce business. I think having an e-store in the marketplace would be simple, but launching an e-commerce business has a lot of entry barrier right now. For all the years that we have built our infrastructures on the technology side, our supply chain, our relationship with the brands, kind of empowers us on looking into opportunity not just in Thailand. So we study all the countries around us. So there's Vietnam, there's Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Cambodia and Myanmar, and all these kind of countries. And there's no such company like us around. And the question was why, right? And it's because it's really difficult for any company to really have the expertise to launch an e-commerce platform like us. So we would like to take our platform to expand not just regionally, and we're hoping that it will go globally as well. Even though our footstep is to focus on Southeast Asia, but we do have the ambitions to take our platform to the global markets.
Maybe you could dig a little bit deeper into that expertise around e-commerce. Maybe you can share with our audience specifically what are the specific pain points for businesses or brands that are looking to launch an e-commerce, and how do you guys address that, right? Especially today in 2026.
Launching a D2C e-commerce site is relatively difficult, especially a few perspectives. Number one, in Southeast Asia, it's really hard to find software engineering talents. The number of talents in the market is really limited. That majority of them, after they graduate, they either go to the banking sectors, they go into the telecom sectors. There's not much software engineering that left in the market to really start a tech company. That already determines that even you have the passion to do it, there's just not enough talents in the market to fulfill that. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is, in the early stage, when we started an e-commerce platform, our user acquisition cost was very low. We're talking about $1 for a user. But nowadays, we're looking at $30. So it's just 30x for acquiring one user compared to before. So that's a good thing that Konvy has accumulated a huge number of fan clubs online, and the customers are staying with us for the long period of time. But if you just enter this market right now, you're looking into 30x of expense, which is really difficult to do. Thirdly, is if you look into all tech companies around the world, it mainly come from either US, into China, India, where they have huge populations. The reason is because the initial investments for tech is huge, and how many user base can you eventually penetrate? So let's say if we do an e-commerce company, we invest tens of millions of dollars into our tech platform. But in Thailand alone, there's only 70 million populations. If I have done this business in China, I would have 1 billion of customers with the same investments. With this background, it makes new e-commerce company or tech companies really hard to just happen in Southeast Asia.
You're helping a lot of these D2C companies and D2C brands start more efficiently with this platform, but at the same time, as you've described, Konvy has also created a moat, so to speak, right? Having accumulated all of these, I would say, advantages over time in terms of, you already have the scale working with multiple brands, so the unit economics makes a lot more sense. You also have, the supply chain expertise and the operational expertise already to manage across multiple markets. And then third, obviously, also the tech advantage as well. I was curious to know, on that first point of the lack of engineering talent, some might argue that with AI and whatnot, it's a lot easier to build online platforms. Like, how is AI? I know in our conversation 2 years ago, we also talked about AI a little bit and how you guys are adapting to that as well. How has your view on AI evolved in the last 2 years?
I think AI has brought a lot of opportunity in the same time, a lot of uncertainty. People are not sure how should we react to AI. And my viewpoint is that there's a lot of things that cannot be replaced by AI at the moment. Let's just look at our e-commerce business. having AI is definitely much, much easier to develop the website or the applications side of the business. Our business right now is operating, if you're talking about on ground stuff, almost to 1,000 people now. And I would say 95% of them could not be replaced with AI. There's a lot of communication between brands, understanding of the market trends. There's a lot of supply chains, product moving from one place to another. There's a lot of legals, importations, marketings. So it's a complex business model where AI could really come in handy uh, to help us accelerate some of, I would say, completion of the task. But it just cannot change the business. It's not possible to be a one-man e-commerce platform, right? And yes, it's much easier for them to come in, but once they really got the idea and the orders start to come, and when they start to scale, then they need to think about more people again. But we do see that AI, in some perspective, can work with us, complementary our business. Yeah, so we do have teams in the AI that are really investing time to build something that in the past would be relatively difficult to somewhat integrates with our platform and makes it more interesting.
For e-commerce probably the whole, I would say maybe the user experience is pretty low hanging fruit for AI. I know like a lot of
Yes.
e-commerce platforms have already been doing it even before the whole Gen AI boom. And I think last time we talked about smarter recommendations and also how a lot of the data, you use a lot of the data from the e-commerce transactions to also inform how you guys design offline
Yes.
stores as well. So that plays into any new use cases that
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot more. Our team in the tech side is 100% integrating with AI tools now. I would say the efficiency has increased at least 50%. If you're talking about usage, we're integrating data analyzing into all business units. So every team is leveraging, we have a lot of data. And in the past, we have a huge data teams. Every team has data people for every functionals, right? And now we're leveraging that. Instead of having an individual data analyze person, every members are equipped with data analyzing skill now. So it will making them to make decision much easier. Presentations, all these kind of things that use a lot of time before are being replaced with AI. We're not a design company. What we need is to really analyze data to understand customers, find products what customers want. So our job is not to make the PowerPoint extraordinary creative, right? So that's something that AI can really reduce the time being wasted. So we can really focus on bringing the right products to the right customers.
And I like what you mentioned earlier about AI can't really replace a lot of the people in the organization, especially as it relates to the trust and relationships that you build with brands, and also across markets, right? A lot of localization needed, a lot of tailoring to what specific brands need. And speaking of catering to the needs of brands, I also wanted to talk about the recent round that you raised with Cool Japan Fund. Yeah, which was really interesting given that they also invested in another Insignia portfolio company before, Caro as well, also another consumer-facing company. And yeah, I wanted for you to share with our audience a little bit of context in terms of the strategic value of having for Cool Japan as part of the Konvy kind of partnership, and how you view Japan brands in terms of trends and how they fit into the wider kind of like global portfolio of Konvy.
Japan has been the largest investor into Southeast Asia, I would say, for over the last 30 years. Japanese cars, Japanese cultures are heavily influenced. I would say Thailand probably the most influenced Southeast Asia country into Japanese culture. You find Japanese food a lot more common than Chinese food in Thailand. But over the last 10 years, you don't hear much about new things about Japan. With the economy in Japan is getting a lot more stable, I would say, in the last 20 years. Now they want to come back and be more aggressive into investing into company that has strategic collaborations with what they are potentially investing into, right? And we love the story that there's a lot of good Japanese things, but there are little people know about it. And Konvy, it comes with the Konvy's business theory that we would like to bring good products to the markets. So we would love to explore and bring Japanese products out to the global markets. And with the full capability of from Konvy that we can operate a brand end to end from the scratch to really investing into branding, marketing, educating people about the products. We have the end-to-end service. We would be going into Japan and explore products, not just on the health and beauty side, but other things as well, and bring them out.
I think that's really interesting and really taps into the playbook that Konvy already has, just expanding it a little bit further. I wanted to ask, do you have any thoughts or ideas in terms of how Konvy will go further in terms of global expansion? What does global expansion mean for Konvy as a company, since we've been talking about that? Yeah.
We have the inbound strategy and we have the outbound strategy. Right now, we are always playing the inbound. It means that over the last 10 years, Southeast Asia, they really love Korean products, Chinese products, with the K-pop cultures and everything, right? And we do foresee that the Japanese products and Japanese cultures are coming back again. And so we were bringing an inbound a lot of things, right? We're bringing brands into Southeast Asia. But the last few years, we see a boom of local brands. As you know, Thai people are really creative. The product are really creative too. And it fits their differentiation points in the market where they don't lose to Korean products or Chinese products. They have the angles to tackle their customers. They're really strong in providing emotional, on a very creative side. The packaging are really cute, and they understand the customers in Southeast Asia a little bit more, and the product formulation probably fits the tropical market more as well. So they do have the angles as well. So going globally, our outbound strategy is to bring our Thai products, our Filipino products, Malaysian products to the global markets because they do have good product as well. So Convy's playbook is more of a matchmaking for good global brands and good global products to fill the gap of where e-commerce now is filled of cheap products, low quality products. But Convy is focusing on quality products, brands that people are not sure about, that they never heard about, but they are good brands. They have a good story that they want to tell, but they don't know what channel can they tell. And Convy is going to close that gap for the brands.
I think it's a interesting way to word it, like really matchmaking, but really on a not just on a Thailand or Southeast Asia scale, but really on a global scale as well. So yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of the inbound have done, and even with this more recent round. But I think outbound is going to be exciting story to share maybe in our next episode. We'll have more to talk about that. I wanted to also touch on the omni-channel strategy as well. We've mentioned a lot of the different channels that you guys have built over the years. How do you see this evolving moving forward in terms of priority, in terms of online versus offline, in terms of resource allocation and strategy? Yeah.
If you're looking into China's e-commerce market, especially on the health and beauty side, beauty is about 70% online in China. Where if you're looking into Thailand right now, we're close to 30%. Okay, so the trend has been growing fast. But if you ask me how much is going to end for Southeast Asia, I would think maybe 50%, 40 to 50%. So it means that another 50% of the sale will be coming from offline. And when you go to the Philippines, where the markets is still dominating by the offline markets, online is definitely a huge opportunity. But the whole infrastructures and everything as Indonesia and Philippines, logistics is complex. Right? The whole country is a combination of thousands of islands. So sometimes being able to buy something online might take longer for the customer to receive. So the experience might be not great in some sense. You don't want to just force people to buy online. That's not the purpose of our business. The purpose of our business is to leverage e-commerce to bring convenience. That's where our name Konvy comes from, right? But if it's inconvenient in some way, there's no point for us to force them to do it. So we need to leverage the omni-channel strategy. What can we do online well and what we can do offline well? It's not possible for us to sell a perfume that are new to the customers that they never smelled it. So when we're bringing some brands, let's say we're working with Coty Global right now very closely on bringing brands that they have, big brands. They are not yet penetrating markets like Philippines. And we would like to bring them as Konvy as a value to help them into the countries with not just the e-commerce capability, but allowing the Philippine markets to be able to experience the products. Right? So they can really try the perfume offline. So you need that strategy to complement each other.
Personally, I buy a lot of my skincare offline as well. I was really happy when Konvy launched their the first Philippine store quite close to my place. So I was able to pay a visit and check out the product selection there. And I think like for many consumers, I think first time buyers, like it really helps to have presence. And for those who may not be as familiar with skincare and some of these products, always good to have like that kind of first experience before becoming a regular purchaser and maybe doing things online, right? So yeah, I think really interesting and also helps with the localization, right? I think you work with a lot of, in the Philippines, for example, you work with Robinsons to launch that first store. Maybe you can share a little bit about your thoughts on like localization and how you're really able to build these partnerships across different markets.
The way we do business for Convy is we like to work with partners. We like to focus what we are good at, but things that we are not good at, we would like to work with partners. We're not thinking to do everything ourselves. And operating offline is not our expertise, I would say. Even though we have opened up offline stores, we are very strong in selecting the products, finding the products, what the market needs with the data supports. But we are quite young in offline retail operations. And that's why we're looking into all three countries that we're operating in. We're trying to work with local business as if they can be our offline retail partners. And Robinson in the Philippines is one of the partners that we have selected and work together very closely on how do we transform the assortments and provide more interesting global assortments into the Philippines markets. And they have been a great partners for us on expanding into the Philippines, providing a lot of support for us. I would say that expanding into another country is very difficult, much more difficult than I thought. Very different cultures. We cannot just take the Thai playbook of our SOP in Thailand and just use it in the Philippines. And we tried it and it doesn't work. And we're creating its own playbook in the Philippines. Yeah.
How has your journey expanding into the Philippines and then now into Malaysia as well impacted the way that you look at Convy's future as a global platform as well, right? Both inbound and outbound for brands. Yeah.
I knew it was hard, right? Because a lot of people fail doing so. I've talked to a lot of beauty brands and they mentioned that they would like to grow to other countries. They are very successful locally. Even though they are so successfully locally, I don't know why they would not be able to go to other countries, right? And now I start to know why, right? And because of that, and that poses more opportunity for us. If we can really build this story successfully, the value that we can, as a company, for not just brands, but for our investors, will be even more. Convy has the capability to operate in multiple countries efficiently, and we can really create the synergy between boundaries of countries to see can we form some sort of very strategy angle to help brands to circulate the markets. So I think that is a great opportunity that I think we have made the right choice. It's difficult to do it, but it's in our gene to conquer the difficult things.
The fact that it's difficult gives you even more reason to actually do it. Because if you do succeed, then you'll be one of the few that can actually do it.
Yes.
So on that point, and you did mention how this strategy can not only create a lot of value for the brands that you work with, but also your investors as well. And on that point, I'm really curious, having run this company now for 13 years, and I think one of the more memorable quotes you mentioned, and I think it was the first podcast we did, was that you, even though you had run already for several years, it's just the beginning, right? And you really see yourself growing Convy in the next 2 decades, 3 decades, even further down the line, right? Really looking into the future, have you thought about the public markets as well? What does that avenue mean to Convy, and how have you been thinking about that, especially from a management level? Yeah.
Raising fund at these 2 years is really difficult in Southeast Asia, but not just Southeast Asia, I think globally, because of the global economy is being very unstable. We do have investors throughout the last few years. We have done a few rounds already. And what does public market really mean for us? And what does this Series B really mean for us for this market is it really gives a lot of confidence to the market that good projects, you still can find investors, even though it's difficult, but Convy has shown the Thai capital markets, the Thai startup market, that there are still people that are striving to succeed, no matter how difficult is it. And going to the public is definitely one of our objective is because we do have the ambitions to grow even more, and we would like to share our business in the public market and to allow uh, investors from global market to enter our business as well and help our business to grow. So another channel of access to capital funds.
And it adds another dimension to Konvy being a global company as well down the line, right? So not just in terms of the business itself, but also how it raises capital down the line. So a lot of opportunities in that regard. Definitely not going to be easy, but I think Konvy has proven time and again that you guys are really up for the challenging tasks and challenging objectives, and still manage to make it work. On that note, final question for our audience. I guess the founders, the e-commerce founders, or even D2C founders, brands out there, any message for them in particular, especially as you mentioned at the start of this conversation, 2026, a really very different year, I would say, and a lot of things happening globally, impacting supply chains and companies as well. So any message for these entrepreneurs and founders?
Sure. With AI coming into the markets, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone that would like to start their own business or startups again. I think it's a great opportunity. Startup is gonna be a very long, painful journey, but as a return, it's an exciting. The last 13 years has been an extremely meaningful journey for me. I've learned a lot of things from someone that have never talked to a VC, never done a podcast. Now I'm sharing to the new startup people about what you're expecting in this market, right? But I think this journey itself is nothing to regret about, right? If you remember the first story that I shared that I came back from the US, it's because things were too easy, right? Yeah. So if you ask me if I regret for doing what I'm doing, definitely not, right? I would encourage the younger generation, people that are interested about doing startups to don't give up, right? If you want changes to the market, if you want to make the world a better place, you want to show people the value that you can bring to the society, I think startup is definitely the thing to do, right? Start from just yourself, it doesn't matter, but there will be people, it's not easy to find money, but keep trying. They will see it, right? And if you have done something related to health and beauty, you can come and find me. Yeah. So we would love, yeah, we would love the young crowd to really find your ways of using AI and how can you and I do something together.
Yeah, if you're building in beauty and healthcare, wellness, definitely Quick is the guy to talk to. And really excited to see how Konvy will, maybe in the next 2 years, we'll have another chat, hopefully earlier. Excited to see how, I think one is definitely the outbound kind of strategy moving forward. Really exciting for a lot of our regional local brands to be able to grow globally. And then two, also in terms of your capital and fundraising journey as well, how that will take shape in the next few years also. And I think for myself as a Filipino here in the Philippines, hopefully more Konvy stores that we can go and visit, and we can see some new products as well that we haven't seen in the market. So yeah, looking forward to all of that. And thank you once again, Kui, for coming on our podcast to share the latest with Konvy.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you for having me. Next time, anytime, let me know. I'll be happy to join.
Yeah, and hopefully we can do it in Bangkok next time.
For sure. Or I will go to the Philippines.